I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch network. I want to report something very disturbing, which is that at Donald Trump's rally in Sioux City, Iowa, the other night, he threatened again the judge in New York, Judge Arthur Engoron, who had granted the preliminary injunction requiring an independent monitor be placed within the Trump organization to monitor their financial representations to third parties, to monitor the financial representations they make to taxing authorities, and to ensure that there are no more fraudulent conveyances that are being made by the Trump organization. Let me play the clip right now for you of Donald Trump at this rally, this fascist rally event he held in Sioux City, threatening the judge. Play the clip.
In our schools. And just moments ago, a radical left lunatic judge in New York City who is totally controlled by my worst enemies in the Democrat Party and by the New York Attorney General, there's another beauty, who was given his position by them at the request of the out-of-control Attorney General, who's let violent crime in New York rage in the state, including murders, robberies, rape, and drugs at levels never seen before, started a process of property confiscation that is akin to Venezuela, Cuba, or the old Soviet Union. It's communism, what's going on in our country. They're weaponizing the Justice Department. They've weaponized things that were not supposed to be weaponized. Companies are already...
I can tell you as a lawyer that Judge Arthur Engoron has an incredible reputation in New York. He ran for civil court in 2013, and he ran for office, as judges do in various states, in 2015. And so he was not appointed by anyone. His reputation is of being a fair and impartial judge. If anything, plaintiffs' lawyers sometimes find that Judge Engoron is very deferential to business judgment. He's a judge in New York, the epicenter of capital markets across the world, and so he's sometimes almost too deferential to businesses, but where he draws the line is where businesses engage in crime and fraud, and where lawyers are sloppy, and where he's not presented with evidence in case he will render rulings on the side of justice, regardless of the parties that come before him. And in this scathing order that he issued before Trump just threatened him at his fascist rally, what Judge Arthur Engoron said was, when Donald Trump was asked about his statement of financial conditions by the Attorney General regarding the various valuations of different properties, Donald Trump pled the Fifth Amendment over 400 times. Additionally, Donald Trump's son, Don Jr., who is the individual tasked with making the declarations and representations that the statement of financial conditions are accurate, which are provided to various third parties, including their accountant, that Don Trump Jr. doesn't even understand generally accepted accounting principles, is what he testified to, and only understands Accounting 101 and barely even looked at the representations made in the statement of financial conditions, but nonetheless represented them to third parties as accurate. And in the order, Judge Arthur Engoron went through a very painstaking task of showing this property was appraised at this. It was valued by Trump on the statement of financial conditions, in some cases for hundreds of millions of dollars more than the appraisal value, and there was no evidence put there to rebut it. In addition to Donald Trump pleading the Fifth Amendment over 400 times, when a preliminary injunction motion is filed by a municipality, they have to show a probability of success on the merits, and balancing in the equities is in the favor of the moving party bringing the preliminary injunction, and that can be rebutted by contrary evidence. And so even if Donald Trump didn't want to plead the Fifth Amendment, or he wanted to plead the Fifth Amendment hundreds of times, what he could have done is brought in an expert who could have done an expert declaration. They could have had Don Jr. do a declaration. They could have had the controller at the Trump organization do a declaration. But as Judge Arthur Engoron states in his order, Trump presented not an iota of evidence, because at the end of the day, Trump's goal, in many ways it seems, is not to actually prevail in this case, but to threaten the judges because he knows he's guilty, Trump knows he's liable. So the plan is to basically put forward no evidence, lose, and then threaten the judge, and then go in front of these crowds at these fascist rallies and say these hateful and disgusting things about the judge presiding over the case, and then say, oh, I'm not getting a fair shake whatsoever. One important thing to know, which is just also the ultimate projection by MAGA and Trump and everything that they do, you saw where he said that this judge, it's like Venezuela. Donald Trump's lawyer, Christopher Kise, who was the one who argued the preliminary injunction hearing on Thursday before Judge Arthur Engoron, Christopher Kise is a registered foreign agent of Venezuela and the Maduro regime currently. You heard that right. Donald Trump's lawyer, who was the one who argued the opposition to the motion for preliminary injunction on Thursday, before Judge Arthur Engoron, Christopher Kise, filled out an application and is currently recognized as a registered foreign agent of the Maduro regime in Venezuela. And I made the argument at the time that here you have a registered foreign agent of the Venezuelan regime arguing to Judge Arthur Engoron that granting the preliminary injunction is tantamount to the nationalization of a private business, rather than a private business which is engaged in fraudulent, ongoing criminal conduct, which had the audacity, after the lawsuit was brought by the New York Attorney General Letitia James, to create another entity called Trump Organization Number 2, which by all appearances was going to be utilized so that there could be fraudulent conveyances of assets from Trump Organization 1 to Trump Organization 2. That is the individual, Christopher Kise, who argued this for Donald Trump. That's why this is all projection, and it is all about using violence and threats and the exact opposite of law and order. And that's why I always say this is not really a political thing anymore. If you support law and order, if you support a court system where court cases are argued based on facts and evidence and presented to judges and juries through facts and evidence, that is a position now only espoused, and this is what's so shocking, by the Democratic Party, Republicans who left the MAGA Republican Party, and independents who were all part of a pro-normal, exhausted majority, pro-democracy coalition that supports our institutions. And this is why when you see a speech like Donald Trump just gave at the fascist rally, and the media says, oh, that's a conservative position, what is conservative about that? You're claiming it is a conservative position to attack the judiciary? Conservative. Wouldn't that be conserving institutions? There's nothing conservative. These are the most radical, extremist people in the world. They attack judges. They attack free and fair elections. They attack police officers. They attack our democracy. They attack our Capitol building. They attack science. They're pro-pandemics. They're pro-insurrection. They are pro-violence. There's no other way to look at the facts. And that's Donald Trump's tactic here as well. Attack and threaten this judge. Attack and threaten the district attorney. Attack and threaten the attorney general. Over in California, attack and threaten the federal judge in California who found that the crime fraud exception applied when John Eastman filed the lawsuit before this judge and asked him to make a determination and a ruling about whether attorney-client privilege applies to try to block the January 6th committee from getting the records. It's all in Donald Trump's world. Donald Trump, who's gotten everything wrong in his entire life. Everything he touches goes to crap. Everything he touches goes bankrupt. All of his relationships dissolve after people realize that he cheated and scammed them. His entire life is one big grift after grift after grift. And yet he's the one who goes in these fascist rallies and tells those crowds that he's the one who holds all of the answers. It is absolutely absurd. And when I see that video of Donald Trump threatening Judge Arthur Engoron and just lie after lie after lie, there's literally nothing that comes out of that man's mouth that is truthful. Judge Arthur Engoron is assigned the case randomly. That's how he gets assigned the case. He is a judge that oversees cases. He got assigned the special proceeding randomly. After getting assigned the special proceeding randomly, and Letitia James filed the lawsuit against Donald Trump, she filed what's called a notice of related case. That happens all the time because the judge has experience in another case. The case is related by the party filing it to another proceeding. That's why it's before Judge Arthur Engoron. And Donald Trump tried to get this case removed. He was the one who tried to get it judge shopping, tried to get it moved from Judge Arthur Engoron so he could try to delay this thing for another 10 years. And it wasn't Judge Arthur Engoron who ruled that he should or shouldn't be on the case. It was actually the administrative judge of all of the New York courts who said that Donald Trump's lawyers were completely wrong, that it was absolutely a related case, that the case belonged in front of Judge Arthur Engoron, and he was the one who should absolutely hear the case. Everything that Trump says is a freaking lie, and he provides no evidence when he's given the opportunity to in the forum. That's what I thought was most powerful about Judge Arthur Engoron's order granting this independent monitor, where Judge Arthur Engoron said, look, you pled the fifth and you provided no evidence, not an iota of evidence at all, rebutting the very detailed declarations submitted by the New York Attorney General's office. You submitted nothing at all. How could I make a ruling in your favor? But you have to remember what Trump and these MAGA extremists rather do. They rather threaten the judge, try to break the institutions than actually participate as a good faith actor in it. It's why this election is so important. It's why you need to share these videos. It's why you need to comment below and share your stories about who you've helped register to vote, try to help others register others to vote. We need you now more than ever here at the MeidasTouch community. So please, 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 we need your help this weekend, on Monday, on Tuesday. If you can drive people to vote, whatever you can do to help out, we need you right now. And these videos should show you what is at stake. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit the subscribe button right now. We are on our way to 1 million subscribers thanks to your support. It's free to subscribe, so please hit the subscribe button. In addition to subscribing here, please become a member of our Patreon account. Go to patreon.com/MeidasTouch, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. There are a number of memberships for you to join there with exclusive content, exclusive Q&As, exclusive merch drops, and much more. But most importantly, we are not funded by any outside investors, no millionaire or billionaire investors who fund the both-sidism media and the pro-fascist media. None of that here at all. We rely purely on you. We're fueled by you. We're powered by democracy. So please, if you can help out, we would so appreciate your generosity. No worries either way, but check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Until next time, I'm Ben Meiselas.
At MeidasTouch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.MeidasTouch.com. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.